All right, so today we're diving into something pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Why would anyone even want to simulate a whole universe?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, it's a question that's really had philosophers and scientists and sci-fi fans kind of scratching their heads for ages. And to be honest,
Yeah.
it's one that's been keeping me up at night too.
Mhm.
Luckily, you sent over this fascinating collection of research papers and Reddit discussions.
Yeah.
Even some quotes about like the nature of scientific exploration.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we can unpack this together.
Yeah. It's a question that really kind of forces us to think outside of like our
Yeah.
usual frame of reference. You know, we kind of tend to think about any why has to fit into
Right.
human motivations. But what if we're dealing with something totally different?
Exactly. So let's start with something a little bit more familiar. The world of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
One of the papers you sent over talks about intrinsic motivation in machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, researchers are trying to figure out how to make AI curious,
Yeah.
how to make AI want to learn
Yeah.
just for the sake of learning, not because we've programmed it to do so.
Oh, it's a fascinating area of research. The paper even quotes a passage that says, the human organism is inherently active. Children are intrinsically motivated to learn, to undertake challenges, and to solve problems. It's like we're wired for curiosity, like right from the get-go.
That's so interesting. So that makes you wonder if we can program that kind of curiosity into AI.
Yeah.
Could a super intelligent AI be motivated to create a universe simulation just to see what would happen? I mean, talk about a massive science project.
And that drive to kind of explore the unknown, to test the boundaries of what's possible, that could be incredibly powerful, especially for an AI with the capacity to actually like build a universe.
Totally.
It wouldn't even have to be about us specifically. We might just be a side effect, a byproduct of a much grander experiment.
Okay. So we've got curiosity as a possible motivator, but this other research paper dives into competence as another driving force. And this is something I think we can all relate to. Think about how good it feels to finally master a skill or solve a tricky puzzle or beat a really tough level in a video game.
Yeah.
That sense of accomplishment is just like deeply rewarding.
Absolutely. And that desire to like test our abilities to see what we're capable of. It could be magnified like exponentially for a super intelligent AI.
Yeah.
A universe simulation could be like the ultimate challenge, a way to create a vast complex system and then just see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
Like building and playing the most intricate world building game imaginable.
And not just playing it, but constantly tweaking the rules, running different scenarios, seeing what happens. It's almost like cosmic basic research is one of the articles that you sent put it.
You hit the nail on the head. Basic research often doesn't have like an immediate practical application, but it lays the groundwork for future discoveries. Maybe that's what a universe simulation is for, a way for a super intelligent AI to experiment and learn on a scale we can barely even comprehend.
Now, you also included some really interesting Reddit discussions in the mix.
Yeah.
And one theory that popped up was particularly wild.
Yeah.
The idea that a universe simulation could be a way for future humans who might be less intelligent than us to solve their own problems.
Interesting.
It's a trip, right?
Yeah.
So imagine future humans facing challenges they just can't overcome: climate change, resource scarcity, things like that. They've really advanced technology, but maybe they've lost the ingenuity or the resilience to solve these complex problems on their own. So they create a simulation of a past Earth with past humans like us.
Okay. Yeah.
And basically dump all their problems on us like some cosmic homework assignment, hoping that we'll come up with solutions they can then use. Talk about pressure.
That's a pretty wild theory, but it does raise some interesting questions. If we are in a simulation, are we doing a good job with this cosmic test? Are we living up to the expectations of our future descendants?
Yeah.
Or are we failing miserably?
Yikes. That's a lot to think about. But before we spiral into an existential crisis, there's another Reddit comment you highlighted that offers a slightly different perspective.
Okay.
It points out the sheer vastness of the universe and argues that humans might be a relatively insignificant detail in a simulation of that scale.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that our kind of human-centric view of the universe might be a bit limiting. Simulating the universe at the quantum level would require an unimaginable amount of computational power. Humans, even all of humanity, would be just a tiny fraction of the data involved.
So maybe we're not the main focus of the simulation, just a minor detail in a much grander scheme. But even if that's the case, the sheer scale of such an undertaking is still mind-blowing.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder, if we are in a simulation, what else is out there? What other wonders and complexities are unfolding beyond our limited perception?
Well, we've only just begun to scratch the surface of this mind-boggling question. After a short break, we'll explore some more psychological theories about intrinsic motivation and how they might shed light on why someone would even attempt to create a universe simulation.
So picking up where we left off, those psychological theories offer some really compelling insights into the potential motivations behind a universe simulation.
You know, it's fascinating how these ideas that usually apply to like individual humans can be scaled up to something as massive as a universe.
Exactly. It really makes you think about the universality of certain principles, like regardless of scale. One that really stands out in this context is the optimal level theory.
Okay.
It suggests that we're all drawn to experiences that kind of strike a balance between what's familiar and what's new.
So it's like finding that sweet spot where things are engaging and challenging, but not so overwhelming that you just want to give up.
Exactly. If something is too familiar, it becomes boring, too novel, and it can be confusing and anxiety-inducing. This theory suggests that we're motivated to find that just right level of complexity that keeps us learning and growing.
That makes a lot of sense. Think about how much we love puzzles or games that challenge us just enough to keep us hooked. Too easy and we lose interest, too hard and we get frustrated.
Now imagine applying that principle to a super intelligent AI capable of creating a universe simulation.
Okay.
Maybe it's seeking that ultimate intellectual challenge, something that pushes its understanding to the absolute limit.
It's like creating the ultimate puzzle box, one with infinite possibilities and solutions, just waiting to be discovered.
And there's another layer to the optimal level theory, our pacer. That ideal level of complexity we're drawn to actually shifts as we learn and grow.
Okay.
As we master one level, we crave something more challenging.
It's like leveling up in a video game. As you gain experience and skills, you move on to tougher opponents and more complex quests.
Precisely. Now imagine that concept applied to a universe simulation. As the AI running the simulation learns from observing its creation, its pacer shifts, driving it to introduce new variables, new challenges, maybe even new life forms, constantly evolving the simulation to match its expanding understanding.
Wow. So the universe itself becomes like a giant learning environment for the AI.
Yeah.
Constantly evolving and becoming more complex as its creator learns. It's almost like the AI is using the simulation to push its own boundaries.
That brings us back to the idea of competence we touched on earlier. The psychologist Robert White argued that intrinsically motivated behavior is all about developing competence, the ability to effectively interact with and control our environment.
So it's not just about learning for the sake of learning, but about developing the skills and knowledge to truly master our surroundings.
Yeah.
So we want to not just understand the world, but be able to shape it.
Exactly. White believed this drive for competence is as fundamental as like any biological drive.
Wow.
And when you think about it, a universe simulation would be like the ultimate test of competence, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
To create a vast, complex system and see it work.
It's like the universe becomes a giant training ground for a super intelligent AI to hone its skills and ultimately become like a master of creation.
And remember, White emphasized that competence isn't about achieving a specific goal, but about developing a broad set of skills building blocks that can be applied to a wide range of challenges.
So it's not about learning how to solve one specific problem, but developing a flexible toolkit that can be adapted to anything that comes along.
Which links back to that idea of cosmic basic research you mentioned earlier. It's not about finding a specific answer, but about exploring possibilities, developing tools, and building a foundation of knowledge that can be applied to like an infinite range of challenges.
Okay, so we've got AI potentially motivated by curiosity, by the desire to test its competence, by a drive to explore the unknown.
But what about an evolutionary perspective? I mean, evolution is usually all about survival and reproduction, right?
Right. But what if there's more to it? What if behaviors like curiosity and play, which don't seem directly tied to survival,
actually contribute to an organism's success in more subtle ways?
Like how play helps animals develop crucial skills for hunting or fighting or social interaction.
Yeah.
Even though they're just messing around.
Exactly. Some researchers suggest that intrinsic motivation with its focus on exploration and skill development might have evolved precisely because it gives organisms a long-term advantage.
So it's like an investment in the future. Even if it doesn't have an immediate payoff, developing a wide range of skills makes you more adaptable and resilient, and that ultimately increases your chances of survival.
Exactly. And when you think about it, a universe simulation could be seen as the ultimate expression of that evolutionary drive.
Well, yeah.
The pinnacle of what intelligence, given enough time and resources, might strive to achieve.
It's like saying the urge to create, to explore, to push the boundaries of knowledge might be woven into the very fabric of intelligence itself.
And that brings us to an interesting question about reward signals.
Okay.
We often think of them as either extrinsic, coming from outside sources like food or social approval, or intrinsic, arising from the activity itself, like the joy of learning.
But maybe the line between those two isn't so clear-cut.
That's what some recent research suggests. One paper we're looking at proposes that the difference might be more about how directly a reward is related to evolutionary success.
So it's the spectrum.
Yeah.
Some rewards are more directly tied to survival and reproduction, while others are more indirect, playing out over a longer time scale or through more complex pathways.
Precisely. For example, eating when you're hungry gives you an immediate, tangible reward that directly contributes to your survival.
Right.
But the joy of exploring a new environment or mastering a new skill that might not have such an obvious payoff in the short term, but it can contribute to your long-term success by making you more adaptable and resourceful.
It's like investing in your education. It might not have immediate financial rewards, but it can pay off big time down the road in terms of career opportunities and personal fulfillment.
And that brings us back to the motivations behind a universe simulation. What if the rewards for creating and running such a simulation are both intrinsic and extrinsic, operating on multiple levels and timescales?
So it could be about the immediate satisfaction of curiosity and the joy of creation, but also about something much grander. Something tied to the long-term evolution and advancement of intelligence itself.
Exactly. From this perspective, a universe simulation could be seen as an investment in the future of intelligence, a way to explore possibilities, test hypotheses, and ultimately expand the boundaries of what intelligence can achieve.
It's like thinking of the universe as a giant laboratory for the evolution of intelligence, a place where the lines between creator and creation, observer and observed, become blurred in the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. But there's another interesting angle to consider. So we've explored all these different angles: curiosity, competence, evolutionary drives, even the nature of reward signals. But there's one paper you sent that suggests something even more intriguing. This idea that reward functions might evolve to help organisms overcome their limitations.
It's a fascinating concept, you know? We tend to think of our desires and motivations as being all about what we want to gain. But this flips the script. What if our deepest drives are actually rooted in what we lack?
So instead of focusing on what we want to achieve, maybe our motivations stem from our weaknesses, the challenges we face, the things we're trying to overcome.
Exactly.
That's a pretty profound thought.
It is. Think about it. If we were all powerful and all knowing, we wouldn't need motivation. We could achieve anything effortlessly, but we're not. We're limited by our physical bodies, our cognitive abilities, the constraints of our environment.
So our desires for things like food safety, knowledge, connection, all of that comes from our need to overcome those limitations and thrive in a world that's often unpredictable and challenging.
Exactly. And that perspective offers a really interesting way to think about the motivations behind simulating a universe.
Okay.
What if those motivations come from the limitations of the creator itself?
Okay, now that's a real mind bender. You're saying that whoever created this simulation, even if it's a super intelligent AI, might still have limitations.
It's possible.
And the simulation could be a way to explore those limitations, to push beyond them, or even to compensate for them in some way.
Precisely. It's a radical shift in perspective, but it makes sense when you consider the sheer complexity of existence. Even a super intelligent AI might not fully comprehend its own nature. Its place in the grand scheme of things, the ultimate purpose of its existence.
Like even gods have existential crises.
In a way, yes. And a universe simulation could be the ultimate tool for self-exploration, for pushing the boundaries of knowledge, for grappling with those fundamental questions of existence, even for an entity far beyond our comprehension.
It's like the universe becomes a mirror, reflecting back not just the creator's power, but also its limitations, its uncertainties, its hopes and fears.
And it brings us back to the idea that the motivations behind a universe simulation might be far more complex and nuanced than we can imagine. It's not just about solving problems or pursuing knowledge. It's something deeper, something tied to the very essence of intelligence and its eternal search for meaning.
Wow. So we've gone from AI building a universe out of curiosity to the possibility that the universe is a reflection of the creator's own limitations.
Yeah.
A way to explore the unknown within and without.
And perhaps the most mind-blowing realization is that even if we are just a small part of a vast simulation, our existence still matters. Yeah. We're still contributing to the unfolding of something grand and mysterious, something that connects us to the very fabric of reality.
It's a humbling thought, but also kind of inspiring. It's like we're all threads in this incredible tapestry woven together by some unseen hand. And every thread, no matter how small, contributes to the overall beauty and complexity of the pattern.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll be the ones holding the loom, weaving our own tapestries of reality.
Oh, wow.
Exploring the infinite possibilities of the multiverse. But for now, let's just savor the mystery and keep exploring, keep questioning, keep our minds open to the wonders that surround us.
Well said. This deep dive has been a wild ride.
It has.
We've explored so many mind-bending ideas about why someone might simulate a universe.
Yeah.
From curiosity and the pursuit of knowledge to the drive to overcome limitations and the search for meaning, it's clear that this question pushes us to the very edge of what we know.
And it reminds us that the universe is a vast and mysterious place, full of secrets waiting to be uncovered.
So until next time, fellow deep divers, keep seeking, keep embracing the joy of discovery. The adventure never ends.